let us start. Now I will not allow anybody to enter into class. I am very sorry because recording has been started now. This is the numerical, I think, last time where we ended the class. Herein you can see it is again the numerical from your university exam. The time of the rainfall or the precipitation 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, etc. Total, it's a 30 minutes rainfall for 6 period, not 6 hours. 30 minutes of 6, therefore 180 minutes total. For every duration that is of 30 minutes, the rainfall intensity is being given, which is 2.5, 3.3, 11, 7.5, 4.8, 5.5, all in centimeters per hour. Unit is being given here. The phi index is given, which is equal to 3 centimeters per hour. And you have been asked to find out the net runoff, the total rainfall, the W index for the following data. Okay, from this thing. So we will move forward again. As you might have seen here, this much is the given data, the top two rows. This is the phi value, and now I have found out the actual rainfall for this duration of 30 minutes. So it is, as it has been exactly half of 60 minutes, which constitutes an hour. So therefore the rainfall is also 50% of that. So 2.5, the rainfall for 30 minutes is 1.25, corresponding to the second, that is 3.3 centimeters per hour. The rainfall is 1.65 centimeters for 30 minutes. Okay, I think you all must have got this thing. How I have found out the actual rainfall for the 30 minutes duration. I again request you, as you might have opened your notebooks and you might have, though you have in your notes, in your notebook, how I have calculated this, I have just explained. Please note somewhere that I have found it out for this half an hour duration, 30 minutes. And the total of all this runoff, rainfall, sorry, precipitation is 17.3 centimeters. Okay. So this is our first answer, that they have asked us to find out the rainfall. So 1/3 marks you will get in this. Okay, very easy. Now we are trying to find out the runoff. We have been given the phi index as 3 centimeters per hour. And by definition of the phi index, we know that phi index is the average rainfall intensity or average rainfall rate above which or more than which is whole the quantity is runoff. Therefore, the rainfall per hour which is more than 3 centimeters per hour will constitute the runoff. So therefore, this first 2.5 will not create runoff, but 3.3, 11, 7.5, 4.8 and 5.5 centimeters per hour will help in creating the runoff. Therefore, 3.3 minus 3 plus 11.3, 11 minus 3 plus 7.5 minus 3 plus 4.8 minus 3 plus 5.5 minus 3. Now we have found this runoff for the 30 minutes, because the duration of each runoff, each rainfall is 30 minutes. So therefore 30 divided by 60, because the duration being duration and the phi, the rainfall intensity and the phi value is centimeters per hour, it is hourly value. Therefore we have converted this for the duration given, that is 30 by 60. So therefore net runoff after calculating this is 8.55 centimeters. It is for this 180 minutes. Okay, I think everybody is getting the things. Now the precipitation we have found.
हेलो सर.
हाँ बोलो.
सॉरी सर, ये लास्ट न्यूमेरिकल दूसरा था सर, जो आधे से छूट गया था.
अच्छा ठीक है ना, वो भी हम देखते हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. ठीक है, ये पहले देख लेते हैं, फिर उसको देखते हैं। तो ये टोटल हो गया 17.3 सेंटीमीटर्स। सो डब्ल्यू इंडेक्स इज इक्वल टू दिस टोटल rainfall 17.3 minus 8.55 divided by the duration, that is the 3 hours, that is 180 minutes divided by 63 hours. So therefore 2.92 centimeters per hour is the W index. And as we have seen, it is less than the phi index, 3 centimeters per hour. We know that W index is exclusive of the abstraction or the whole abstraction, that is the depression storage, that is the evaporation, that is the transpiration, okay, interception. So W index is always less. It is purely, W index is nothing but we call it as the infiltration rate, below which whole quantity is infiltration. On the contrary, phi index is the value, we called it as the average precipitation rate, above which the whole quantity is runoff, but below which the quantity is total abstractions, including the infiltration, all the diffusion storage, etc. All I think you are aware of. As has been said by the Moin, we will move as he has said. I might be in this numerical. Okay. So again the same type. I thought that we have covered last time. Again the same data has been given. Only duration is given as 45 minutes. Total rainfall is given as 3 centimeters per hour. All the hourly rainfall intensity is being given here. Pi index is given as the 4 centimeters per hour. The way of solution, as I have explained just now, is the same. So again, what they have asked you to determine the runoff. They have asked you to determine the total rainfall and the W index. As I have been telling you, the numericals in the exam appear almost similar type. If you solve 2, 3, 4 numericals on your own, you will definitely get the expertise. So again, the solution style is the same, wherein the time of the rainfall in minutes, actual rainfall is 45 minutes. 45 minutes. The total slots of 45 minutes is 5 slots. So the 45 minutes by 5 is multiplied by 5, or total of the all 5 slots of 225 minutes divided by 60. We have converted into the hours. Again, I request you that please note down in your notebook how I have calculated here. As we are not on the blackboard, so it is not possible to give the details of every calculations. But you should, I am explaining you, you should note in your notebook how I have found out this 3.75 hour. I have totaled this minutes. It is 225 minutes divided by 63.75 hours. The rainfall intensity has been given hourly, that is 3 to this 3.3, 3.5, 13, 9, 3 centimeters per hour. Though I have calculated total precipitation here, it's all right. Then I have found out actual rainfall for this 45 minutes from this centimeters per hour rainfall. Okay. So therefore, that 3 centimeter per hour multiplied by 45 minutes divided by 60 minutes. So for 40 minutes, I have found out the rainfall, actual rainfall. So 2.25, 2.625. How I have worked out, I have shown this on this right side column, the details of the calculations. Again, total of all this rainfall is 23.625 centimeters. This is your first answer, total rainfall. Though, okay, I have written here total rainfall is equal to 23.625 centimeters. You should also write down in your exam. You can underline it, and from in front of this write down answer 1. Then the runoff, as we have given that the phi index is 4 centimeters per hour. So definitely the rainfall which is greater than the phi index will contribute to the runoff. We have again, there is no necessity to explain what is phi index. All the quantities of rainfall above phi index contribute to 100% of the runoff. So in this all five values, only 13 centimeter per hour and 9 centimeter per hour are greater than 4 centimeter per hour. Therefore, we have taken these two values for calculating the runoff. So 13 minus 4 plus 9 minus 4, which is equal to 10 centimeters, is the total runoff. Then we have found out the W index, which is equal to 23.625 total rainfall minus the total run of 10.5. Now here we have taken the total duration 3.75 hours divided by 3.75. So therefore the W index value is 3.5 centimeters per hour. Again, the style is the same. Here also you can find the W index is less than the phi index. So these much numericals are more than sufficient to understand you. And if you have any query, as has been asked by Mr. Deepak, so you can ask me in our next lecture. So now we are moving to the last part of this first half of the unit, that is the equations to find out the infiltration rate or the infiltration capacity. After it has been found out by a lot of the experimentation done by the hydrologist or the civil engineers at the site, that is finding the infiltration capacity of certain catchment area with the help of the infiltrometers fitted at the various locations in the catchment area. Because the catchment area is very vast, so therefore the geological topographical features in the catchment area are different from location to location. And we have also the rain gauge stations at various locations, so we have also fitted the infiltrometers at various locations, and we have found out the infiltration capacity. And then based on that study, the correlation between the rate of the infiltration or the infiltration capacity and the time, we have plotted this graph. You all know this is nothing but the infiltration capacity curve. Okay, I am stressing all these things again and again because it should be clear in your mind from exam point of view also, that what is the infiltration capacity curve, what is the hydrograph, okay, how we overlap these things, and how we found out the later on concluded to the concept of phi and W index. So in the same way, it has been found in this graph that the infiltration capacity at the beginning is always more because the soil is unsaturated, the water intake capacity or the seepage or permeability of the soil absorbs more water at the beginning, and the absorption rate or the percolation rate or the infiltration rate, look how much words I am using for the same thing, because you should understand the things, goes on decreasing with time due to the saturation of the soil. So this curve shows that this infiltration rate goes on decreasing with the time due to the saturation, and it has been found that this decrease of this infiltration rate is an exponential form, to attain a minimum constant rate. यहाँ आने as the infiltration capacity or the infiltration rate goes on decreasing, it doesn't decrease to zero. It reaches to certain value and it continues with that infiltration, which we call it as an infiltration rate, constant infiltration rate. That is that minimum value. This curve is a decaying curve. Decaying curve means this curve goes on decreasing. Decay, the meaning of decaying is the decreasing curve with a very high infiltration capacity or infiltration rate at the beginning, and it decreases exponentially to get a minimum rate. So, as I have told you, various hydrologists or investigators have proposed or have formulated the empirical formula, certain mathematical expression to give the correlation between the infiltration rate and the duration and other factors also, like the geology and the topography, etc. And they are arrived at certain equations so that we should be able to find out the directly the infiltration rate or the infiltration capacity. Okay, why all these efforts are being done? All these efforts are being done to get the earliest results of the infiltration so as to arrive at the earliest quantity of the floods of the runoff. So two equations are there, or the two scientists, or the two equation based on the study of the hydrologist or the scientist are being there. One is called as the Horton's equation for the infiltration rate. Horton, one Mr. Horton has arrived at certain ready-made formula, and another is Green-Amt method. Green and Amt, they both were the hydrologists, and they have arrived at that formula. As you might have learnt up till now, the formula which is based on the study to find out the flow, that is the English formula. So that formula is also arrived at on based on the various studies. English formula you must have undergone through that. That v, velocity v, is equal to 1 by n r raised to 2 by 3 s raised to half. So that formula is also not a derived formula. That formula is also based on the study. In the same way, these two formulas are based on the studies. This is the Horton's equations we will be studying first, and then the next formula that we are. It is based on Mr. Horton's study. He gave mathematical expression to find out the value of the infiltration capacity at any time. It's 11 o'clock now, and somebody is trying to enter the class. As I have told earlier that from today I will not allow any latecomer to the class because we will be recording the lecture. Please, I am very sorry for that. So it is an empirical formula. That what does that formula? It is an empirical formula. Just now I have told you it is an empirical formula that lays that the infiltration starts at the constant rate f0. The infiltration starts with the constant rate f0 and is decreasing exponentially with time t. After some time, when the soil saturation level reaches a certain value, when the soil gets saturated, and then later on the infiltration goes on decreasing and reaches to certain constant value. That value is denoted by Fc. So initial value is F0, that is you can call it as a infiltration capacity or maximum infiltration rate, and Fc is the minimum infiltration rate. The rate of infiltration will level off to the rate Fc. So the Ft, that is the infiltration rate at any time t, is equal to Fc plus F0 minus Fc into e raised to minus kt. As has been told by me earlier, Fp or Ft are nothing but the infiltration rate at any time t. They are the infiltration rate or the infiltration capacity at any time t, Ft and Fp. F0 is the infiltration rate at beginning of the storm. That is the maximum infiltration rate, or that we can call it as the infiltration capacity. at the beginning, maximum रहता है. FC is the constant or equilibrium infiltration rate after the soil has been saturated, or the minimum infiltration rate. K is the decay constant specific to soil based on the quality of the soil, whether the soil is a permeable, non-permeable type of the soil. The K constant is there, and T, as I told you, time from beginning of the rainfall. This equation applies when the rainfall intensity or rainfall rate is greater than the infiltration capacity throughout the storm. Okay, I think this much is sufficient. Sometimes, maybe sometimes, numericals are very less on this asked, but the theory is being asked sometimes. So you should be better to be prepared with this. The generalized numericals we have seen earlier. The another formula is by the Green AMT. Again, the both Green and AMT, where these two scientists or the hydrologists on their name this formula, and again based on their studies, based on the past data of the infiltration capacity, the rainfall intensity, duration, suction head, that is the soil's absorption capacity, porosity, hydraulic conductivity, and the time. So this formula has been given: integration 0 to ft f by f plus psi delta theta df is equal to integration 0 to t kdt. Okay, all these values, what are the significance of various symbols has been given here. Psi is the wetting front soil suction head, theta is water content, K is hydraulic conductivity, F is the total volume already infiltrated, T is the time from beginning of the rainfall, and Ft is the infiltration rate at any time t. So after integrating this equation from 0 to t, we can get the value of Ft. So once integrated, one can easily choose to solve for either volume of infiltration or instantaneous infiltration rate. In this way, Ft is equal to Kt plus psi delta t log of 1 plus Ft upon psi delta 3 bracket complete. So again, all these two formulas just now are, we should be aware about the what are the empirical formulas to find out the infiltration capacity or infiltration rate. Okay, so here we will be finishing this first part of the unit. The second part, the evaporation, we will be starting. I will just switch this part. Again, I request Harshal, uh, you can see the slide.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So this second part will be starting, which is dealing with the evaporation and transpiration. Again, it's a very bit type of a big, but we have to discuss it off and finish it off. So evaporation, transpiration, definition, mechanism, factors affecting evaporation, etc., etc. All these things are there. Some numericals are also there. Interception and its measurements. We have covered it, interception and its measurement, in our first unit, but still we will try to cover it here. Friends, you all, again, for your uh, remembering, I am repeating this hydrologic cycle again. As you know, hydrologic cycle consists of these components: evaporation from the water body, water vapor moves upwards, condenses, cloud formation. After condensation, after due to the wind, the cloud moves, transportation from one place to another, cooling, etc. All this takes place. we need the condensation nuclei. So then the precipitation takes place. Precipitation is being intercepted in between, means from the cloud to ground. Somewhere they are intercepted by the plants, by the buildings, etc. Then it reaches to the ground. Before that, some water is lost into transpiration, that is the evaporation to the plant leaves. Then some water is absorbed in the soil, that is we called it as a infiltration. Some water which after the soil got saturated moves over the surface of the earth due to the topography, due to the slope, that is called as the surface runoff. Some water which percolates into the ground also got converted into two parts. The one part that infiltrated water, one part again follows the topography of the ground. Topography means slope of the ground. Though it percolates into the ground, it moves along the topography and flows and reaches to the water body, maybe the sea or maybe some river. That is called as the subsurface runoff. And some water, due to the gravitational force, again percolates into the ground and reaches to the groundwater table or the groundwater reservoir, which we called it as the aquifer. Okay, that is the called as the groundwater flow. Okay, so this much we have discussed in our first unit. The some one of that component of that hydrologic cycle is evaporation. We have discussed up till now about the precipitation, about the infiltration. Now we'll be discussing about the evaporation. Again, I will repeat that why we are discussing all these things, because all that water from the precipitation does not get converted 100% into the runoff, that is the flood. Therefore, we need to think of all these components so that ultimately the exact quantity of the flood can be worked out. So the evaporation now we will be discussing of is the process in which liquid changes to the gaseous state. Friends, you all know that the liquid exists in three states generally, maximum of the liquids. Here we are discussing about the water, therefore the water always exists in three states: liquid, solid and the gaseous state. So the liquid changes to the gaseous state at the free surface. The next is very important, that is below the boiling point, because the water always, what we have seen, that it converts into the vapor when it is boiled, means when the temperature is more than 100 degrees Celsius, then the water converts to the gaseous state or the vapor state. But evaporation component is that wherein the water at the free surface of the water body gets converted into the water vapor, maybe due to the solar rays or maybe any other reasons that we'll be discussing later on. But it is always below the boiling point through the transfer. But how that occurs? Through the transfer of heat energy. Okay, I think everybody must have noted in their notebook and the important things, as I have been telling you again and again, that I always show in these slides the gist, the important points. The details are given in your notes. This change in state from liquid to the vapor or the gas requires an exchange of 585 calories of the heat for each gram of water evaporated. This is expressed in evaporation rate in millimeters per day, centimeters per day or inches per day. So inches was FPS unit. These are all we use as the MKS unit, millimeters per day, centimeters per day. Again, you might have noted that again this is expressed in depth. Evaporation is expressed in depth. Now very important discussion part of our unit. evaporation and evapotranspiration. Now what is transpiration, you know. So evaporation is nothing but the conversion of the liquid into the gaseous or the vapor state, and transpiration is nothing but the conversion of the liquid from the plant's leaves. The plant leaves also needs water. Somewhere in our first lecture or second or third, somewhere we had discussed at that time, and I have told you that this is the process wherein the plant leaves needs the water, carbohydrates, and the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for creation of the energy for the plant's growth. That process is called as the photosynthesis. Okay. And I have asked you, which is the green material in these leaves? Nobody has answered except Pritesh. So again, I put this for your thinking for the next lecture. What is that green material in the plant leaves? The biological process I have told you, it is called as the photosynthesis. So evaporation, now transpiration, I have explained you what is transpiration. Transpiration is nothing but the transfer of the water from the plant leaves to the atmosphere. Why the water gets evaporated through the plant leaves? Because the plant leaves are also having the very micropores through which that absorbs the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and also the solar energy from the atmosphere. It needs light, it needs solar energy, it needs carbon dioxide, it absorbs the water through the roots, and all this together forms the carbohydrates and the energy for the growth of the plant. Photosynthesis. That is, and through these plant leaves, through these pores, the water gets evaporated into the atmosphere. Large quantity is evaporated due to the solar energy. So that is called as the transpiration. So evaporation, that is the transfer of the water from liquid state to the gaseous state, either through the soil or through the water body, is called as the evaporation, and the transpiration, combination of these two, is called as evapotranspiration. As this evapotranspiration constitutes lot of the loss of water of the precipitation, therefore it is to be considered very important. I will tell you later on my self experiences. Two important phases of the hydrologic cycle: redistribute the heat energy between surface and the atmosphere. It's a continuous natural process. A substance changes from liquid to gaseous state. And what is the source? It is the solar radiation, sun rays. 90% of the annual precipitation gets converted into the vapor in arid regions. Arid regions means barren lands. In deserts, where no plants are there, no forest is there, 90% of the annual precipitation get evaporated into the vapor. So therefore this evaporation and the evapotranspiration are very important. You can think, if at certain area, if at certain location 100 centimeters of the rainfall is occurring, but 90 centimeter of the rainfall are getting evaporated. So only 10 centimeters of the rainfall is of use. So does it advisable to lose this much water in evaporation? Can we not do something to control the evaporation? Out of the numerous solutions, the one possible is the forestation or creating the greenery. So therefore it is very important. Now the mechanism, very important. It's asked, we along with the definition of the evaporation, the mechanism is also asked in exam. So you should understand the things. It's not difficult, it's very easy. As I have told you, or I have told you earlier, that evaporation is the conversion of the liquid form to gaseous form, to the vapor form, but below boiling point. The temperature is below the boiling temperature. Then how the water gets water gets, or the liquid gets converted into the vapor? Friends, this evaporation process occurs at the surface of the water body. Okay, at the surface means at the place or at the plane between the atmosphere and the liquid water, that is called as the surface of the water body. At the surface of the water body, the evaporation takes place. What happens? The solar energy or the atmospheric temperature, if it is more than the water temperature, this atmospheric temperature, if it is more than the water temperature, this atmospheric temperature is being given, is being imparted, is being transferred to the water molecule which are at the surface of the water body, which are in the liquid state. And these water molecules, as soon as they get the more energy from the atmosphere in the form of the temperature which is given by the solar rays, they get activated, they start movement, they get activated, and as they get more and more energy, they get converted into the vapor. They change their state from liquid to gaseous state, and as they got converted into the vapor or gaseous state, their density being less, they move upwards, as the density being less than the other air constituents, that is the nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. So at free surface of the water body, external thermal energy due to the solar rays supplies or increases enough kinetic energy to the water molecules at the surface, and they escape from the water body. वो वाटर बॉडी को छोड़ देते हैं सरफेस को, overcoming the intermolecular forces. Means there are intermolecular forces of attraction between the water molecules in liquid form, but as they get energy, thermal energy, they get excited more and more, and due to their excitement, their movement starts, and they overcome the intermolecular attraction of the water particle and leaves the water body and gets converted into the vapor form and eject themselves into atmosphere. The amount of energy expended by a unit mass of water while passing from liquid to vapor state at a constant temperature is called as latent heat of vaporization or vaporation, or the vaporization denoted by L. All you have learned in your 12th or maybe the first year, either physics, the latent heat chapter in heat. The amount, I will again repeat the sentence, the amount of the energy expended or used, expended and it has been used, the amount of energy expended by a unit mass of the water while passing from liquid to vapor state at a constant temperature. The temperature is not increasing, the temperature is constant, that is the atmospheric temperature. This amount of the energy is nothing but called as the latent heat of evaporation or latent heat of vaporization, denoted by L. I think every one of you have understood the mechanism of the evaporation process. Okay? And how it occurs, how the water changes its liquid form to the vapor form, and from where it gets the energy, from where the water molecule gets the energy to lift themselves from the liquid to the gaseous for state. When now the next is very, very important. When the external energy is not made available, means when the atmospheric temperature is not so much that the water particle at the surface is not getting energy to get evaporated, to get converted into the water vapor form, what does those water molecule do? They extract the energy. The energy is removed from the water body itself. What does they do? They take the energy from inside the water body, from inside the water body, and they try to escape from the water surface by getting the kinetic energy from this heat energy, while evaporation is taking place, and thus results in lowering of the water temperature. Therefore, evaporation indirectly is a cooling process. So, evaporation is indirectly a cooling process. If we would have been in the class, just we are here on net or on internet, I would have asked you for the two examples of this latent heat of the evaporation, vaporization, and this cooling process. You have learnt in your 12th or somewhere in your general knowledge. The the example of the explanation why the water in the earthen pot, which we call it as a matka, माटी का जो मटका रहता है. So why in summer there is lot of heat outside, but the water in the earthen pot is cool? It's cool or cold like the water in the fridge. Or the second example is when there are lot of the plants or the forest around you or your house, it is always cooler by 3 to 4 degrees in summer as compared to the barren land. If the temperature at outside is 44, 45 degrees, the temperature in your house or below the plant, if you are sitting below the big tree, then the temperature there is always less. You feel cool below the plant, below the tree. Why? Because again, due to the transpiration. Due to the transpiration, the heat is being used to convert the water particles in the plant leaves into the vapor, and in this process, the atmospheric heat being used. So therefore, the indirect is the cooling below the tree or adjacent to the tree. And also the second example is cooling of the water in the earthen pot or the matka in our Hindi or Marathi we say. Okay, so the evaporation is, what is it? It is nothing but a indirectly a cooling process. Okay, it's good that it cools. So what we have to do, again the say forestation or the greenery is always good, but from our hydrologist point of view is evaporation and the evapotranspiration, we lose almost 80 to 90% of the precipitation water. I think friends, you must have understood what is evaporation, its definition, its units, its mechanism, latent heat of the vaporization, how the latent heat is being taken by the water body from the atmosphere as well as from water body itself, and how the evaporation or the vaporization takes place. Now we are moving into the next part, which is of very importance. We know over that water body or at the surface of the water body, there are two pressures acting on that water body, on the surface of the water body. On the surface of the water body, there are two pressures are acting. One is atmospheric pressure, and another pressure is due to the water vapor which is accumulated over the surface of that water body. You are getting that water vapor has produced certain pressure, and how this water vapor is created? This water vapor is created due to the vaporization, due to evaporation. So this evaporated water first gets accumulated over the water surface. As it has got certain density, certain mass, so therefore it creates certain pressure over the water surface. In addition to this evaporated water vapor pressure, the atmospheric pressure also there. So therefore the total pressure acting over the water surface is called as the vapor pressure, which includes the atmospheric pressure plus the partial pressure by the water vapor molecules. Okay, so friends, you must have understood the concept of the water vapor pressure. So vapor pressure is equal to atmospheric pressure plus partial pressure by the water molecules. You have noted this equation in your notebook. So because based on this concept of the vapor pressure, we are defining certain 2-3 concepts later on. So therefore, what is vapor pressure? Vapor pressure is nothing but the pressure at the surface of the water body, means at the surface of any reservoir, at the surface of any river water, at the surface of any pond or any lake from which the water will get evaporated, or maybe at the surface of the soil also, land also, where the soil or the land is wet and the evaporation is taking place. There also the water vapor pressure will be there, and this vapor pressure includes the atmospheric pressure that is permanent there, and plus in addition to that atmospheric pressure, the partial pressure by the vapor molecules. The total of this is called as the vapor pressure. So therefore the continued supply of the heat energy causes accumulation of more and more water molecules, water vapor molecules. So as the atmospheric temperature is more and more, so atmosphere has got heated, so more and more heat energy will be supplied to the water molecules at the surface of the water body. And as more and more energy is supplied to the water molecules at the water surface body, more and more water molecules will get kinetic energy and they will convert into the vapor molecules, and more vapor will be created. And as more and more vapor is created, or the vapor molecules are created, more and more they will be accumulated at the surface of the water body. So as more and more vapor molecules are accumulated at the surface of the water body, more and more vapor pressure will be created. This will continue. This will continue with the supply of the heat energy. And a stage comes with this continuation. A stage comes when the gaseous medium or the vapor particles can no longer accommodate anymore. This evaporation or vaporization continues, and the molecules, vapor molecules, are so largely compacted over the water surface that now there is no space for more vapor molecules to accommodate over the surface of the water body. Okay, and now the vapor molecules which are already existing, which has created a dense population over the water surface body, will reject the vapor molecules in the form of condensation at the same rate as vaporization. whatever water molecules have got deposited over the surface of the water body, they will condense as they have becoming more and more dense. They will condense, they will form a huge vapor body which cannot accommodate more vapor molecules from the water body, and their this condensation rate or their accumulation rate is same as the rate of vaporization. What will happen at this rate, at this stage? At the stage comes when the gaseous medium can no longer accommodate any more vapor molecules, can no longer take or accept any more vapor molecule, and they reject the vapor molecules in the form of condensation. Okay, already formed vapor molecule will condense or will come together very close, and they will not allow more vapor molecules to come from the water surface. So this condensation rate or they are coming together, and the rate of vaporization will be same. At that time the air is said to be saturated. Okay, at this time we say that now the air is saturated. The vapor or the moisture in the atmosphere is very large. Now there are no chances of evaporation from the water surface. At this saturation, the partial pressure exerted by the water vapor at the saturation point, when this condensation rate and the evaporation rate are the same, the partial pressure exerted by the water vapor is called as the saturation vapor pressure. Okay, so at this saturation rate, the partial pressure exerted by water vapor is called as the saturation vapor pressure. It is denoted by ES. So what we have seen earlier? We have seen earlier the concept of the vapor pressure. Now we have seen the concept of the saturation state, and we have seen the concept of the condensation rate, the evaporation rate. Both rate are same, then we call it as the saturation state. And the pressure exerted by the vapor on the water body at this saturation state is called as the saturation vapor pressure. Though it is a bit a theoretical concept, but it has to be thought of, it has to be studied of. The saturation vapor pressure, it is denoted by ES, and it increases with the temperature, because as the temperature increases, as the atmosphere is hot and hot, naturally the more air will get displaced by the water, or the more air place is available for the vapor particles to get accumulated. So therefore the saturation water vapor pressure will also increase with the temperature. If the vapor pressure of the air above the free surface of the water is already equal to the water vapor saturation pressure, ES, if the vapor pressure of the air above the free surface of the water is equal to the saturation vapor pressure ES, neither evaporation nor condensation takes place. That state is called as an equilibrium state. Okay, so when this state occurs at the saturation, when neither condensation, that is coming together of the already evaporated water molecules, takes place, nor the evaporation or vaporization from the surface body takes place. Due to what? Due to the certain saturation pressure developed by the atmospheric pressure and the vapor pressure. That is so much that now they will not allow the water particles to get evaporated from the water surface. That we called it as a saturation water vapor pressure. That state is called as the equilibrium state. So at this stage, I think today we will take the break. I think everybody has understood it very well, because now the saturation vapor pressure ES, and naturally it is the maximum vapor pressure, that is the atmospheric pressure plus the pressure created by the water vapor at the maximum condensation state, is always greater than the other vapor pressures, or the vapor pressure at the other time, that is at the time lesser than the saturation time. Okay, the normal vapor pressure will always be less than the saturation vapor pressure till that the evaporation will take place. Okay, you are getting to what I mean to say. The normal vapor pressure, that is denoted by EA, we will be learning next time, as like ES it is denoted by EA. It is always less than ES. When EA is equal to ES, then no evaporation takes place. When normal vapor pressure is less than ES, then and then only then the evaporation can take place. Okay, so we will be taking the break here. Don't leave the class. Again, I request all of you to please start your cameras, mobile phone cameras. Today's attendance is very poor, only 21 students are there. All are requested to start their cameras. Mayuri, Raut, Omkar, Rishabh, Vitthal, Mahi, Prachi, Pallavi, Shriti, Praveen, Prachi. All please start your cameras. Will be uh, Pallavi, Shriti, Nandita, Vitthal. So with this, I'll be taking the snap.